Hello and welcome everybody to the IPR, the IP Resources from Idea to Profit podcast. This is through the Going to Start Over.
Good.
Good, he says. Good, he says. That's right.
Good end.
Just leave it all in.
Always funny.
Yeah, bloopers are funny. All right, onward. All right, everyone. This is the hello and welcome everybody to the From Idea to Profit, the Product Pioneer podcast. I am Tim. I'm joined by my business partner, John. Say hello, John.
Hello, everybody.
And we are going to be discussing a few things today. This podcast is for anyone who is an aspiring or even accomplished inventor who wants to up their game. Anyone who is either in the process of starting a business or in the process of growing or developing a business around a product or an innovative element, even if it's a software service or any kind of object or product or software, or anything that is something that we can list as what we call an intellectual property asset. Not to get too far down into the weeds here, that's a big part of what we want to talk about right off the bat. Is today I really want to discuss why the IP resource was founded and what has led up to it and why its mission has evolved over the past year. I kind of want to start back 20 years ago when I first started doing patent illustrations and product design for inventors and working through IP attorneys, specifically patent and trademark attorneys, and some of the quote unquote adventures that we went on together in helping inventors and businesses develop their products and also get them properly patented and protected. And so I want to break this up into three parts here because I like simple. I like things that are clarifying. So anyways, the first thing I want to start with is I thought about framing it different ways. I thought about framing it like, what are the three biggest mistakes that inventors or business people make? And I was like, it sounded very cliche. And I think we literally already did a podcast about that. And the other thing was, just trying to, I'm a huge fan of like addressing pain points and things like that. John, right? Like, where does it hurt? So, but frankly, really what came to me this morning as we're leading up to this recording session for this week's podcast, I said, man, I simply want to tell people why I really wanted to build this business. And I broke it down into these three parts. And because these are the three things that broke my heart the most when dealing with our clients. And these are the things that have caused people to close the doors of their businesses forever. These are the things that have defeated even the most optimistic and enthusiastic of inventors. And these are the things that I have also seen happen on a level that is shocking, both in frequency and in quantity. And the first thing that I want to share with everybody is I don't care if it's a patent, trademark, copyright, getting in touch with a legal counsel that is a good fit for you is paramount. Like, I can't put that. I mean, when I've seen people, and I know a lot of people that have done it on their own, there's a lot of people that have, it's like, man, there's a million jokes about lawyers, right? I think, I don't think you would have to work very hard to come up with one right on the spot right now. Right, John? Right?
Probably. Yeah.
And so, right. And then they have all these, cliches of ambulance chasers and things like that. And, in the realm of patent attorneys, they exist too. Usually the ones that are making the loudest noise are the ones that you want to avoid. Like most attorneys, like the ones that you see all the billboards over and the ones you see making the biggest rocket are usually not they're the ones that are looking for business. The attorneys you want to go to are the ones that are just, waiting, they're looking for the right client to come to them. And so, yeah.
A question for you.
Go ahead.
You brought This came up in one of our conversations with the client just recently, that the differentiation between an intellectual property attorney and a patent attorney.
Mm.
And with that, before you get into that, kind of on the same thing, is there's also that unsegmented group of attorneys who will just jump on anything that walks in front of them. Could be personal injury, could be patent, could be trust, state law, whatever. But you got to find a specialist. So that I'll shut up now. You can answer.
Yeah, no. Thank you, John. One of the great things that the great reasons why we work so well together is the fact that you wrangle me in, buddy. I have a lot going on in here, and I tend to want to get it all out. And we try to limit these to like 30 minutes, and I could literally talk for 30 hours. And, but yes, your first question. So I think it's important for people to understand this. Yeah. So the intellectual property, right? That covers a slew of things, right? There are patents. There are trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, even certain contracts fall into that. Another thing that a lot of people really might not understand this until you get into it, franchise agreements fall under intellectual property. Because what is a franchise agreement? If you have built up your business or restaurant or whatever, and you want to franchise it, you create a franchise agreement. And what that agreement is you will secure my brand and mimic it and copy it, right? Basically licensing out your intellectual property, what makes your business unique, so that it can be copied and mimicked in other places. That is an intellectual property. It falls under intellectual property law. I think this is also very important. Even John, you didn't remind me, but it's important. I am not an attorney. I don't even play one on television. John is not an attorney. We have the absolute wonderful pleasure to work with some amazing attorneys. And I want to get into more of that later, but all of my knowledge comes from working closely with these attorneys over the past 20 years and seeing the difference of how they operate and the stories that I hear coming in from the clients that have come from other attorneys. And so this is not to throw anyone under the bus. It's just simply to exemplify the point that there are, like anyone, there are good doctors and bad doctors, unfortunately. There are good attorneys and bad attorneys. And I would say, maybe not label them good and bad. There are ones that you would want to work with and ones that you would probably not want to work with. And just kind of leave it at that. So, John, answering your question, here we go. So a patent attorney is an attorney who has taken and passed the U.S. patent bar. So, right, most people understand, or maybe not, I don't know. When you graduate from law school, you don't become a lawyer. You have to pass the bar exam. And once you pass the bar exam, you are licensed to practice law in the states that you've taken that bar exam. If you take the bar exam, you can do things like contracts. You can do things like franchise agreements. You can even file copyrights and trademarks on other people's behalf. You can act as someone's advisor or ambassador, right? That's what an attorney is. It's an advocate, someone that can stand with you. Right. But a patent, for someone to be a registered patent attorney, that only can happen if they have passed the U.S. patent bar.
Bar exam.
It's a patent bar exam. Correct. Thank you.
Yep.
And so what happens is now all of a sudden you become someone who is not only not just able to be an advocate for someone, you're able to interact and function in a way that is different from other attorneys, especially when it comes to the act of patenting, like not just filing, but also litigating and prosecuting patents. Like, so someone is infringing on you, you want a patent attorney to represent you because they have the resources and the knowledge to build a case. And also, other way around, someone's suing you, or you want to sue somebody else, like having a patent attorney, a registered patent attorney in your corner is what you want. And so there are, I think, a fun little anecdote. It's not fun. It's actually pretty scary. So not many people know this, but I have another life outside of this job, and that life is working in production. I started in music production, then I went to film production. And this is very relevant because what I learned when I first initially got into film back in 2007, okay, so nearly 20 years ago as well, I remember there was a huge copyright war going on for those that were in the film and writing industry. A lot of, because the internet, Google was becoming more and more popular in that at that time. This is way before AI and stuff like that. But people were able to plagiarize and stuff by using Google, right? And, researching other people's materials and etc. But anyways, there was a huge warning going around anyone working in film, which was the fact that there were, on average, from 2007, about 20,000 people graduating from law school per year that didn't have a guaranteed job after law school. That means they weren't clerking. They weren't, they weren't receiving offers. And they were like, well, what does that matter? What is that? How does that bother us? And they said, because you're going to have a market flooded full of attorneys who are going to be looking for work, and they're going to be looking for any reason to get work. And so they're going to nitpick things. And since copyright was a hotbed issue at the time, they said that you're going to find a lot of attorneys filing lawsuits at any perceived copyright infringement. The reason I bring this up is because those are the attorneys that you want to avoid, right? The ones that are looking for any excuse to, do something. You want to find an attorney that, again, will be your advocate, that will help guide you through the process of properly protecting and, we call it securing, right? But protecting, securing your IP assets in your business. And so that's a big point of why I really wanted to start this. Is I have one other story I think that'll be prudent in this category. And that is, I could tell hundreds of stories about people who went to another attorney, were led down a fruitless road, right? And then dropped that attorney to find an attorney that I was working with. And together we not only fixed their problem, but were able to sue the other attorney to get some of the money back, right? But this happens. I literally could come up with 100 stories right now, but of that same scenario. Someone went to an attorney that they found online or through the phone book or through someone else or something else, got burnt bad, spent tens of thousands of dollars and nothing, no fruit whatsoever. And then finally they got connected either through me to the attorney or from someone else to the attorney. And together, I with my design team and the attorney with their legal team were able to fix all of the problems and get them properly protected, secured, and did our best to try to recoup as much as we could from the debacle that they came from. And I still see it today. And I if there's anything I can do to more propagate the fact of finding the right person at the beginning is going to save you a lot of time, money, and a lot of headache, because those are the 100 success stories. Out of that 100 success stories, I've come across 1,000 stories where people had abandoned their projects because of that initial experience, initial burn from that bad, or again, I want to refrain from that initial experience of that attorney that just wasn't right for them. And, that to me is the most heartbreaking element, right? That they gave up on their idea. They gave up on their business completely because of that one experience.
Tim, I want to jump in here a little bit. And just so I'm being educated all the time, working with Tim and the attorneys we work with and the content we're putting together and the courses we're putting together. But another thing that I don't think I know that is the design work that you do, right? Behind the creation and the submission of all that information, making changes after changes after changes. It's not going to be done by somebody who just got out of art school. It takes a little bit more than that. And how thick did you say the book was, Tim, that you had to pass?
Yeah, it's a few. It's tough to scale, but yeah, it's a few inches to get the hard bound copy.
So, which I think I don't really have any, or we don't. Maybe you do have an idea of this, but I think a lot of people just again go the easy route and say, "I'll just my brother's kid's a really good artist, and it's just not going to work." Because they don't know the details of what has to go into a properly designed provisional patent application.
Yeah, I see that. I've seen that many times. And the other side of that coin is the other side. So I'll preface it by saying this is patent illustration and product design brings two elements together. Engineering and the accuracy of engineering, right? With artistic expression, right? You want to bring that idea to life. So when people look at this two-dimensional black and white image drawn on a piece of paper, or now with computer, but still black and white, and that someone can look at that and derive the look, the feel, the function of that thing. Now, if it's a design application, they're just looking at the aesthetics. What is the look? Even, I think the feel would be in there too, because we have to derive the senses. Is metal, plastic, glass? Is it soft? Is it hard? Made out of wood. Anyways, some materials and everything. So there is a powerful artistic expression involved, but to balance it with engineering, with artistic accuracy. Right. It's not just artistic expression. It's design accuracy, which means that things need to fit together in the correct way. So even someone who wants to build it can just simply look at these illustrations and pretty much figure it out, right? Things should be to scale. And like I said, there's all sorts of rules that I don't want to bore anyone with. But so I have seen that. I've seen that quite a bit where, my buddy is a graphic artist, or my daughter or my son or whatever is a graphic artist, and I'll have them do that, and they put it together as best they can, which, if you're filing a provisional patent application, it would work. Formal, no. The most common form of rejection of what we call office action, but rejection from the USPTO is drawing related. And I pride myself that I once, for many years, prided myself that I had 0 rejections for the longest time. I never had a single rejection from any filing. As rules became more strict, and, it became impossible, right? Because they changed rules on you. And there's a gap of time when you file to the time that they actually look at it. So, we filed, and then 2 years later, they review the documents and the rules had changed. And so that's an automatic rejection, and I have to pivot based off the new rules. But all that being said, we still operate, the business still operates at a 97, pass rate. So 3% of our designs fail or need revisions. We've never had one that's been abandoned. That's one thing I could still rely on. We've never had a single case abandoned due to drawing issues. And so that's a pretty big claim, because not a lot of inventors and businesses can claim that. But I'm happy to say, out of I'm assuming at this point, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of patents that we filed. So going back to it, the other side too, right? A lot of inventors and a lot of business owners that are creating innovative products actually come from an engineering background. And so they're familiar with SolidWorks and Pro E and even AutoCAD. And they're like, well, I can design. I'm the one who designed it in the first place, right? I designed this product. I'm the one who designed it for the fabricators to build it. I'm the one who designed it we could, have the prototype and all this stuff. And they think that level of the engineering accuracy is enough to showcase and base their design or their drawing filing off of, but they're completely missing the artistic element, and drawings are rejected just as much from that than inaccuracy. So you can have the most accurate drawings on the planet and it's still be rejected. Why? Because they're missing the artistic, what I call artistic flair, but that artistic element that actually brings it to life, that when someone reviews it, they know exactly what's going on and there's no confusion. And so again, coming across, hearing stories of so many people that had abandoned, thousands of people that I've met now that have abandoned projects due to poor illustrations. And I've even taken upon myself personally, when I hear that people had spent thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to have illustrations done that were ultimately abandoned, I would do my best to even do pro bono work, to help them so they can recoup it, just so it got done, right? I didn't get anything from that other than the satisfaction that they're able to file their patent. I get nothing else. I get no recognition whatsoever or any money. Yeah.
So you talked about abandonment, and that's basically people just kind of quitting, right? Just letting it go. But what are some of the other ways from your experience, and so what I'm learning as I get to be better more from the, the business development part of the program is that people aren't ready, or they're not thinking all the stuff that has to be done to do. And then, we've talked about this many times, but once you can start building your business without having the patent done. But what are some of the things that you've experienced where people have just flat out failed?
So yeah,
and getting the patent done or starting a business or whatever.
That's a really good point. Like, so, as we look at the process, right? And, I know I focus on the abandonment and failure of patents. Just recently, an old dear friend of mine called me up, and she had worked years getting training and building a business, cause she wanted to get free from the W-2, right? And so she took courses and she got herself certified in a certain field. I'm not going to get into the details, but, even hired staff and built a business. And she got a cease and desist letter from a company in California doing the same work because her business name was too derivative of their business name. And literally, if I can go so far as to saying this, it's a two word name. She had it one way, word A, then word B. She had word B, then word A. Now granted, she didn't know that this company existed, but so she didn't get inspiration from that company. It's just from the type of work that they were doing. It's in that. So that's what I see. So if you're a business, so let's say, there's probably a couple of people that are going to be listening to this that own and operate gyms and fitness programs, right? Mm. We got a lot of friends who do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's amazing because everyone does bring their unique twist and turn and flavor to everything. And that's why innovation is amazing. But you're operating in a space. So you're going to be using words like fitness, right? Accelerate, right? You're going to be using words and descriptions that are all going to be somewhat homogenous, right? Because you're operating the same space. And so I see that happening with businesses a lot. And so that means when you do have a business and you're operating in a certain space, you think you're being all creative with your name, your slogan, your logo even, and then all of a sudden someone does a search. You finally do a trademark search. And, with that trademark search, they realize that, this is super derivative. Like, even though I consciously did not derive it from them, but that doesn't matter. Right? If they have a filed trademark on that logo, on that name, on that slogan, and just because you're operating in the same space and you become super creative, right? And you think you're so creative but again, you're still in that bubble. So you're still pulling from the same pool. So working with an outside team and working with a team that is used to that, like our team, right? We can help you with certain things by doing a preliminary trademark search and developing your logo, your brand, your business name even. We can help you kind of think outside the box and also avoid any kind of future litigation from cease and desist letters. So that's with trademarks. It falls with copyrights too. Again, copyrights in business and everything. Like you have any kind of literature, like, so let's say you print your program out or not every innovative business, but like there's a lot of innovative businesses, right? Nowadays you're using videos and images and stuff like that to help tell your story. Make sure that the images you're using are original, right? You're not deriving it from someone else. And so, these are things that, we really, really have a strong desire to help people with. And the other thing is I'm excited to talk about this, right, John? Since we started this, we've gained access by working with, again, these attorneys and other people who are with us, right, to help us kind of minimize this failure rate, right? And we have these tools like the Made Simple products that I can't talk about these things enough. Because if these things were around earlier, not granted, that would be in a lot because AI is fairly new, but, in application, it's been around for a long time, people, but in application and ease and availability, how about that? Being able to do a lot of these preliminary stuff yourself before hiring an attorney, like doing your own patent search, really helps a lot. It saves you a lot of money. It saves you a lot of time. I think also it's very much worth mentioning about we have taken the time seeing all these pitfalls to make a free assessments for anyone who wants to take them. Whether you're an inventor, a business owner, we have free assessments to help assess your business standing. Also, and more importantly, to assess your intellectual property of your business to see where you stand, one, with your knowledge, and two, with is it secure or not. The other thing, I'm really excited, but I feel like I've talked a lot. So, John, this was actually your brainchild. And so I want you to talk about this a little bit. And that is our course and community.
Yeah. I was glad you brought that up because as Tim was talking about I was going to say affiliation, but I would call it more of a partnership that we have with a unique set of attorneys that are specialists in this area. So we have that access to them, but also too, that's kind of the building of our community as professionals in helping people start their businesses. But we also have a community, which is on our Facebook page that you can join for free. And in there, it's a place too where you're going to be around other people, again, building a community with like-minded people, innovators, inventors, creative businesses, but also you're going to get access to a weekly call where we can discuss your issues, things that you're having. If you need like a specific time to address a specific challenge you're trying to overcome, we can do that in that community. But also you have the support of other people as well, pursuing the same thing, not the same inventions, of course, that would not be good, but trying to take your idea, protect it, promote it, and profit is our goal. And that's kind of the bigger picture of what we're doing. Getting back to the thing is you can go a lot farther than you can with the community than you can alone. And all the resources are there. Yeah, some of them you have to pay for and some of them are free, but they're all valuable and it can really help you get further down that path a lot quicker. So yeah, come check it out. It's definitely worth your time.
Absolutely. No, and yeah, thank you for that. Cause like I said, this is a team effort. I saw the problems. It's one thing to see the problems. I mean, like I said, I started seeing the writing on the wall and seeing a lot of these problems that people are facing. And I didn't know how to help. And I think it's a beautiful element of our story that, I just shared with you my desire and you're like, well, let's do that together. And and here we are. Yeah. And we have, go ahead.
Yeah. One last thing is that, I've got a background in advertising, marketing, 20 plus years, et cetera. But, I'm still kind of learning the whole patent thing. But one thing that kind of gets under my skin is when you see somebody that has a great idea and they just jump to the easiest option, which is licensing it to some other company where there's good potential that you could make money. There's also potential that you make very little money. And I just, for me, as an entrepreneur and helping other businesses grow that were clients of mine, the fact that you would want to take the easy route after all the work that you've done, and where we would like you to take maybe the harder route, but build some legacy around your business that you have longevity to do. And eventually, maybe you'll sell it and retire and live in the Bahamas or somewhere, but you have something that you'll own.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's a good point. I think it's a good point because I think it's worth mentioning, right? And I think we could spend a whole episode just on that.
Sure, definitely.
And I think it's worth also mentioning that, I follow the principle, like, right, if someone if it's too much of a jump for someone, like, I let it be, right? If it's too much of a jump, fine. Like, it's okay. Like if kind of going off on your own and kind of pushing and standing off on your own, feels like it's too much for you. Cause it is a lot, like you said, but you also get bigger returns and, out of it. Cause I think regardless of what someone chooses to do, I think a good leverage point is always something to consider is the leverage of this is your intellectual property. And what licensing does is basically you selling your intellectual property. And some people are okay with that just because it's just too much, like you said. And it's okay. It's okay. But I like people to get get what they deserve. In a good way. No, I like people to get what they deserve. Like, this is your brainchild. This came out of your experiences, everything that makes you you. This is where that comes from. That's where innovation comes from. And so you should be celebrated for that 100%.
Yep.
So
good point.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Tim.
Any final words?
Nope. Just don't give up.
No, don't give up. And if you have any questions, please reach us through the ipresource.com. Also, I will put links in the description of this episode for our booking a call if you want to find out more information about the courses and communities, about the Made Simple products. Also, a link to join our free Facebook community. And again, just a general list of all of our resources and all the things that we're doing. We are very much, John and I are very available to all of our clients. You can feel free to schedule a call at any time. There's a plethora of ways to do that through the website, even on Facebook, through a business page. But yeah, if you have any questions, please let us know, reach out. If you like this episode and you haven't subscribed yet, I would ask that you would, because we'll be talking a lot about we're actually going to be giving a lot of good information out there to help people kind of bypass these pitfalls. And if you're someone who really wants to take this and succeed, I'd listen in. And thank you for listening, and hope everyone has a wonderful week.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.